Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjala-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri-Yutapudakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we will continue with the reading of Bhagavad-gīta as it is from His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, founder-ācārya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, last time we started chapter 3, which is entitled Karma Yoga, or working with knowledge and detachment for the pleasure of the Lord is better than false renunciation. So, in the beginning, Arjuna was asking, because Krishna told him in the beginning of the second chapter, or after Arjuna surrendered to him and took him as a spiritual master, so Krishna explained the difference between body and soul. And then after that he told him that he should use this body to fight for him. And this distinguishing of spiritual and material, and at the same time to use material again, was confusing for Arjuna. So he was asking him, what is then better, to renounce this material or to work with this material? So he could not put it together in this way. So this is how chapter 3 started, and Krishna started to explain what's the proper understanding of this, because chapter 2 is basically only summary of the whole Bhagavad-gīta. It doesn't go into more detail, and in the next chapters we will see more details on the topics which are discussed there. Okay, so let's start. Five. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit karyate hyavashah karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi. Na nor he certainly kaschit anyone kshanam a moment api also jatu at any time tishtati remains a karma krit without doing something karyate is forced to do he certainly avashaha helplessly karma work sarvaha all prakriti jaihi born of the modes of material nature gunaihi by the qualities. Translation: everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Purport: it is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. Without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupations dictated by the illusory energy. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes. And to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties and join in the shastras. But if the soul is engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. The Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17 affirms this. Chaktva sadharmam charanam bhujam harera bhajana pakvo tapate tato yadi yatrakva va bhadram bhudamushyakim ko varta apto bhajatam sadharmataha. If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in the Shastras, or execute the devotional service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all the injunctions or purification in the Shastras, what does it avail him if he is not Kṛṣṇa conscious? So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Therefore, sannyasa or any purificatory process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Kṛṣṇa conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. Here, important point is to mention that because we as a spirit soul are always active, so we cannot just stop these activities. As we said last time, spiritual life doesn't mean to stop activities, but to be engaged in spiritual activities. So spirit soul is always active. Is the reason also why this otherwise dead material body is moving. So we cannot check soul from acting either in body or in material body or as a spiritual body. So that's why we should be always engaged in some activities. And if we are conditioned, then there are prescribed activities according to the modes of material nature we have acquired, because each body has some percentage of modes, let's say of mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance in different amounts. So according to this, there are prescribed duties for each of these combinations. And in this way, because it was our desire to act in such a way, so we can now, according to these modes, because of our desire, we got the body and got this balance of modes of nature. So in this way, we should now engage these qualities which we acquired by getting the body and engage them in the spiritual activities, or in the service of the Lord, because it doesn't have to be necessary direct devotion activities, might be something indirect like our occupation. So in this way, we can be purified, we can understand what we got, that it's just a material conditioning, and then we can move forward. Or is mentioned here also that if one takes to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, then even without following all these prescribed duties, or even executing the devotional service properly, there is still benefit for him, because as we said many times, there is something like spiritual credit, which is eternal. So by doing these spiritual activities, this balance is rising. So there is no loss in this way. Even if we stop or fall down or whatever, if we continue, then again the balance will be going up. Of course, it doesn't mean that now we stop doing prescribed duties and somehow also neglect the spiritual life. It's not meant like that. It should not support this case that somebody is lazy and not doing anything and expecting some result. So this way or that way, we should endeavor whatever the result is. So we should carry these duties either in spiritual way or material way. Yes, so we move on. Śloka 6. Karmendriyani samyamya yaaste manasa smaran indriyartan vimudhatma mityacharaksa uchyate. Karma indriyani, the 5 working sense organs. Samyamya, controlling yaha, anyone who aste remains. Manasa, by the mind. Smaran, thinking of. Indriya artan, sense objects. Vimudha, foolish. Atma, soul. Mitya ācāraha, pretender. Sahi uchyate is called. Translation: one who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on sense objects certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Purport: there are many pretenders who refuse to work in Kṛṣṇa consciousness but make a show of meditation while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers. But according to this verse, these are the greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order, but if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. But he who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the object of the sense gratification must be called the greatest cheater, even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy. His knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever. So Prabhupada is speaking, or Krishna is speaking here about someone who is trying to pretend by just doing so-called spiritual activities, but still his consciousness is not pure. So he is, in his mind, he is always meditating about the sense enjoyment, but externally he is pretending that he is doing some meditation. So this is not, so Krishna is warning about this mentality, that we should be aware of this. So this is called cheating, that one is not engaging, is conditioning, but is somehow pushing it backward, not dealing with it, not purifying it. And it may be presented in many sophisticated ways. Okay, question. When chanting Harinam in my back of the mind, thinking about work, so that I also cheating. Huh? In one sense, yes. Also, we have to understand that mind will also be coming with something. So we just have to continue with this chanting, and gradually we should know. We should always bring mind back to the holy name, because we might not be in the stage when the mind is naturally attracted to the holy name. So these things will be coming because we have to deal with something in our during the day, let's say. So the mind is already preparing some plans, or is thinking how to deal with this and deal with that. So this is coming, and maybe we can try to give mind the option. Okay, now you focus on the holy name, and then during the day you observe, what is Krishna's arrangement, because you have some plan in the morning during your japa time, let's say. So mind is inventing something, but when we surrender in the morning to Krishna, we offer this time to him, then during the day he will act, because we surrendered, so he is going to help us, and then we see what will be the result of this kind of chanting. So yes, usually we should not think about any activities. When I hear and chant, that is good. Yeah, it's important to hear, of course, yes. Because we should focus on hearing, not even much on chanting, but hearing what we are chanting. Then this is the proper focus. Then the mind is focused on the holy name, not just the tongue is vibrating something and mind is somewhere else. So it's important, hearing is important, yes. Ślokas 7. Yastvindriyani manasa niyamya rabhaterjuna karmendriyai karma yogam asaktak savishishyate. Yaha one who do but indriyani, the senses, manasa by the mind, niyamya regulating, arabhate begins, Arjuna or Arjuna, karma indriyahi by the active sense organs, karma yogam devotion, asaktaha without attachment, sahi vishishyate is by the better. Translation. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. Purport. Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime svarta gati, or goal of self-interest, is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of varna and ashrama is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show battle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So here Krishna is advising that it's better to be engaged in our duties than just pretending some spiritual activities. And he's saying here a sincere person. So this means the sincerity. We understand our position, that we have some desires. And also we know that what is the ultimate goal, what is svarta gati, or goal of self-interest, which is to reach Vishnu. And in this way, we are engaged in our duties in the institution of varna and ashrama according to our conditioning. And at the same time, we pursue the spiritual endeavors and gradually become purified. Gradually, we'll understand that when we are engaged in our duties and trying to think of Kṛṣṇa, because also we have this, that's also important why we should engage according to our nature, not what we think is good. We should really evaluate what is our nature, what is our conditioning, what are our desires, I mean material desires, and this should be engaged. Because when we are engaged in these activities, then there is the focus. And with this so-called, or let's say material focus, and at the same time wanting to reach Kṛṣṇa, you will see that this material focus is distracting us from Kṛṣṇa. So in this way, we will understand that, okay, these activities are from my desires, but also I desire Kṛṣṇa. So better I engage them for his service and get purified, and then get full attention for Kṛṣṇa. Then we can even do these activities, but there won't be this focus, this how to say, this desire to do these activities. You'll do it as a duty. That's the best option. So in this way, while doing it as duty, we can do it nicely, but we are doing now it for the Kṛṣṇa, not because it is our desire. And then the consciousness is also proper, and then we'll see that we can even continue with the same duties. We doesn't have to give them up. We can continue with our occupation, but consciousness will be different in this way. So that's why it's important to be engaged in our own, according to our own nature. And that's also why this sincere person is better situated than false pretender, because false pretender is not accepting that he has some conditioning. He just wants to do spirituality directly. But in this way, he will not be purified, because these desires are still there. If he is going to some spiritual process, then first thing, as we saw in the first chapter, Kṛṣṇa immediately will show him what is here, his attachment, like he showed to Arjuna. Okay, here in front of you are your attachments, your grandfather and your teacher. So if we are not dealing with these attachments, we are just pushing them back. It's not the solution. Okay. Comment: without here only chanting, mind goes elsewhere. Yes. We should focus on hearing. That's the most important. Okay, Ślokas 7. Oh, sorry, 8. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karmaja yohya karmanaha sharira yatra yachate na prasidhyet akarmanaha. Nyatam prescribed kuru, do karma duties, tvam you karma work, jayaha better, he certainly akarmanaha, then no work, sharira bodily, yatra maintenance, api even, ja also, te your na never. Prasidhyet is effected, akarmanaha without work. Translation: perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. Purport: there are many pseudo-meditators who misrepresent themselves as belonging to higher parentage, and great professional men who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scripture. After all, one has to maintain one's body and soul together by some work. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of the impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so, through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist, renouncing work and living at the cost of others. Yes, so again, Krishna is stressing the same point, repeating the same thing, that one should be engaged in his prescribed duty, and is better than not working, just because of this effect of purification, as I mentioned previously. So everyone has prescribed duties. Arjuna was householder, and he was also a Kshatriya, or in an administrative class. So these were his duties according to his nature. So Krishna is saying also that renunciation is not meant for maintenance. It's just natural state of life. It is not meant as an occupation. So these renounced ashramas are because someone is at this stage of life, so he should be engaged in this way. It's not meant that because I want to get money, so then I take to this ashrama, because this seems to be that people are willing to give to sannyasi, or willing to give to some monk or brahmachari or whatever. So that's why I choose this ashrama. In fact, I saw such person who was a householder, and in the morning, he did his morning program. Then he dressed up in saffron and went to the town. I don't know what he was doing there, but he was begging or something. So this is not proper thing how to be engaged. We should be sincere. That's why Krishna is mentioning sincerity. We should understand what is our nature. And basically we may think that that we are cheating others, but in this way we will cheat also ourselves, because we stay in the same position. We will not be moving. We will not be purifying ourselves. Comments. But with things which is designed to us, free will there, but according to karma destiny already written. The thing with the free will is that definitely there is some karma, and karma means there are some circumstances which will be coming into our life. Let's say we have to meet someone, we have to suffer this, we have to enjoy this. But at the same time, each moment in our life, if we are aware, we can use the free will and change our future. Because if we don't use the free will, if we let mind and intelligence work like a machine, we are not involving, then it's like animal consciousness, and then karma is fully operating. So then, what is going to happen will happen. But if we understand that we can change it, and we make conscious decision by our free will within this circumstance. We cannot change everything, but at least we can act in a different way. Then we can change also our future destiny. That's also why we can get out of the material world ultimately, because we desired spiritual life. We made this conscious choice to do spiritual activity instead of material activity. Because if we are just dependent on karma, we will never get out of the material world. So this decision, either in material life or for spiritual life, avails us to change our future also. So karma, to some extent, it is there because the situation will be coming, but each time we can also decide what will be our future. We have this. This is what means free will. So sometimes it's difficult to get out of the situation, but still to reach the destiny, angels also guiding us. Yes, there might be some entities which are living entities of higher realms, which may give us guidance and give us protection. Yeah. So let's move to the next one. Shloka 9. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Yagya artat, done only for the sake of Yagya or Vishnu. Karmanaha, then work. Anyatra, otherwise. Lokaha, world. I am this. Karma bandhanaha, bondage by work. That of him. Artam, for the sake. Karma, work. Kaunteya, o son of Kunti. Mukta sangaha, liberated from association. Samachara, do perfecting. Translation: work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. Purport: since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that the purpose can be fulfilled. Yagya means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances also are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. The Vedas enjoin Yagyo vai Vishnuhu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed Yagya or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Krishna consciousness is therefore performance of Yagya as it is prescribed in this verse. The varṇāśrama institution also aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varṇāśrama charavata purushena parakpuman Vishnur āradyate. Vishnu Purana 388. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. For both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu. And while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work, and in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcend a loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. So Krishna is introducing here one more element to do the work as a sacrifice, and particularly a sacrifice for Vishnu or Krishna. So this is something added, because if work is not caused or not done as a sacrifice, but just for our own purpose, our own sense gratification, then it will cause further karmic reactions and further entanglement in the material world. But when we do this work in a consciousness that we are doing it for Krishna, then also we are preparing our spiritual body instead of material body. So this is the difference of the result of this work. So we are, in both cases, we are engaged in prescribed duties, but because of these different consciousness or intention, the result will be also different. And Krishna is naturally advising us to do this as a sacrifice. And basically, the varṇāśrama system, or system of 4 varnas, or social orders, and for ashramas or spiritual orders, it's meant for satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. It is designed like that. Is basically Lord's recommendation on how to act in our life. This is what is pleasing to him. That's why he gave us the varṇāśrama system. And also this system is designed in such a way that it is very conducive for spiritual life. It is not against the spiritual life. It's supporting the spiritual life, ideally. But as we said in the beginning of this session, if one by executing his duties doesn't come to Krishna consciousness, then just executing the duties doesn't make sense. So that's why this element of sacrifice is now introduced, because our ultimate goal is to come to Krishna consciousness. So in this way, we are training this consciousness, and ultimately it will be natural for us to do anything for Krishna, for his satisfaction. So this should be the purpose, not just to perform the duties and that's it. There is some comments. Okay, yeah. When living soul comes to earth, yes, divine protects. Yes, I read something that there are entities which are protecting us, but at the same time they will not go against our free will. So there might be something, but no, if we desire something else, and especially in Kali Yuga, people, if we are sincere, we also get protection, that's for sure. But if we are not sincere, then they will not bother with us much, because we don't want it. So it depends what we want, what is our intention. If we sincerely try to, to follow and to move forward, then we also get help. Because this is also how, when we surrender to the spiritual master, he gives us some instruction. And if we execute these instructions and something would happen on top of that, then we will get this protection from him, that we will not fall down, because we follow everything to our best capacity. So then we are getting this protection also because of that, because we surrendered. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna, Śrīmad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivedanta ki jai.